Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another video at the Pharmacist Academy. Woo! Okay, so in this video, I'll tell you exactly why you didn't get an interview at the site you applied to. Now, I've reviewed several applications for both PGY1 and PGY2 residents as an oncology clinical pharmacist, and I've been part of selecting candidates for interviews, so I know exactly what I'm talking about. You didn't get a pharmacy residency interview because of your GPA. So majority of programs have like a set criteria that they follow when you're reviewing applicants. One of them could be simply a GPA. So they will simply say, is the GPA of the applicant over 3? So the answer is yes or no. Usually if you don't meet this criteria, you probably will not get an interview. But let's say it's over 3 and it's, let's say, 3.1. So 3.1, you do meet the criteria, but it's not competitive. So with that, there's probably plenty of other candidates who have more competitive GPAs, like 3.5 or higher. So I'm not saying that it's going to rule you out completely, but if it's not a competitive GPA, it's still a chance that you will not get an interview. Next, your letter of intent. Now, the letter of intent is one of the most important part of the whole application, simply because you're telling the program director, this is why I want to do a residency. This is why I want to do a residency at your institution. This is what your institution offers that will allow me to achieve my goals. So it's very important to make it specific. So you don't want to write a general and generic letter. I see this a lot. People write a generic letter and they send it to a lot of institutions. It's not specifically focused on that institution that you're applying to, right? So this requires you to do research and for you to include specific information about that institution in that letter of intent. I have a video on this, so I'll include the link down in the description for you guys to check out. Next, recommendation letters. Now, the recommendation letters, you want to be careful with who you ask to do the recommendation letters, because this is something that you will never see. Technically, you're not going to get a chance to review it before it gets submitted. It just gets submitted. So if you request this letter from a preceptor who, let's say you started off your rotation with poorly and then you started doing well, they might include that in the letter. Okay, so just keep that in mind. They also have to recommend you. All right, so at the end of the recommendation letter, they get to say, okay, I highly recommend this candidate, or it could say, I recommend this candidate. So the highly recommendation is obviously better. So you want to pick somebody who will most likely say that about you. Sometimes the preceptors or whoever you're asking to write this letter may not be aware of the deadline, okay? So you definitely want to make that very clear to them so that they could complete it on time and submit it, because they may have a bunch of other things going on. So if you know who you want to write the letter for you, just make sure you let them know in advance and give them some time so that they could actually write the letter. Sometimes it may not be descriptive enough. That's very hard to control. Just pray that the person doing the recommendation letter is going to put a lot of effort in it and actually provide descriptive information like it's being requested when you're doing the recommendation letters. So they're not putting like one-liners or very, very short paragraphs, right? Like 2 sentences. They actually put in detailed information. It's going to be asking them a series of questions and they're just answering it, right? So they don't want to put any short answers. So if they do any of these things that I've listed here, then it's going to reduce your chances of getting an interview. Next, your CV. So you want to make sure that your CV is well structured, it flows, and it has relevant information. This is where you're really selling yourself and your previous experiences. So you want to make sure that you put the important information, the information that's actually going to catch somebody's attention, okay? You don't want to just throw everything onto your CV. Some of the information is just irrelevant and you may have gotten that experience, but it doesn't really do anything for you. And you also want to make sure that the format is appropriate. So when you should bold things, when you should underline things, when you should use different bullets, all of that you want to make sure you take into consideration. Lastly, your rotation experience. So this is really for the people who are applying to a residency site where they've already completed a rotation as a student. So this becomes very tricky because while you was there, what kind of impression did you leave, right? What kind of experience or what kind of person or student were you while you was doing that rotation? Because they're definitely going to take that into consideration when reviewing your application. Did you meet your deadlines on that rotation? Did you maintain professionalism, right? Did you come on time? Did you dress appropriately? Did you speak appropriately? And also your clinical knowledge, right? During that rotation, were you able to answer certain questions? Were you able to work up patients? Were you able to lead topics? Whatever it is, the fact that you were there before, they will definitely think about all of these things. So if you know you want to apply to a site that you're currently doing a rotation at or will be doing a rotation at, make sure you take it very serious. Remember, every rotation is a possible job opportunity. And that will be the end of this video. Straightforward video. Make sure you take these things into consideration. It's very important to know what you need to do in order to get a residency interview, but it's also important to know the things that you shouldn't do, right? So it's good to know both sides of the fences. So I hope I was able to provide that information for you. If it was helpful, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share with anybody that could benefit from it. Connect with me on these social media platforms. Thank you for watching this video and take care.